call this regularly scheduled meeting of Plain Township Board of Trustees for June 12, 2018 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the agenda before us. Does anybody have any additions, corrections, or deletions from the agenda as it stands?
Under concerns of trustees, I'll add one, just a SCOG meeting update, and two, Stark County Township Association.
Okay, so noted there. Any other additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, we will start out with new business.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Board of Trustees to approve the replacement of the HVAC Unit 1 for the Township Hall from C.R. Kurtz.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, this was on the fiscal side. It's already been done. I just have to say the units that we've had, our HVAC and furnace, are original. They're almost 30 years old. And like Trustee Sabo had said to me, we'll never get that kind of longevity out of those systems. So to just now be replacing this one and one other is amazing. So the board definitely got their wear and tear out of them.
I would agree. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Item number 2 is to approve the replacement of the HVAC unit number 2 from C.R. Kurtz and to authorize payment.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Well,
Same discussion.
Same thing now. Instead of the fiscal side, it's our side. If you walk over there, feel the heat, you'll sweat it out. So.
Our water's so hot.
Oh, yeah.
There's one more that will probably fail in the next year,
Yeah.
so we'll figure out what that goes to.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is just fix it next year, because we were going to try to time these, spread it out, but then it had other plans.
Well, having been here when this building was originally built, it was built and designed to actually pod or sectionize, if you will. Yeah, and obviously they thought that from an efficiency standpoint, putting all of those in a central location and then pushing things out. But unfortunately, back in the conference room back there and in the sheriff's room, that is even a little bit different, because when dispatch was there and fire prevention was back there, we always had a little bit of trouble with that whole process. So I think we're doing the right thing by both replacing these and then watching that, because there's what, 4 units in there?
Yeah.
5, I think the total.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
four.
it's 5.
There's 4 for sure.
Yeah,
And
there's 5.
And that 5th one might be here. I think that 5th one is
Correct.
dedicated to here.
Thank you for not making us have to move to the splash pad
Yeah.
for our offices.
Well, you can do that till 11.
Yes, yes.
So, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Okay, item number 3 is a resolution to approve the purchase and installation of new flooring for the Diamond Community Room from J&R Flooring.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Again, this is original flooring that has lasted, I don't know how many years.
1985.
Since 1985. It's well past time. It's coming again from the Improvement of Sites Fund, because the Parks Fund obviously couldn't pay for that, but we're past time.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And in the same vein, I present new business number 4, which is to approve the purchase and installation of a new counter, cupboards, a stand for the cappuccino maker, for the concession stand at Diamond, a new counter sink, backsplash cupboards for the Diamond Community Room from American Total Maintenance.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
To clarify, essentially that's a revenue generating center over there, so we're just really reinventing it back into that.
Yeah, they're using tables, just temporary tables like that for the concessions, and it's number one, not safe, number two, just not the best way to use that space.
I mean, the space was originally designed as a pro shop, not a concession area.
Yes.
And as we've grown, I think that's kind of
Yeah.
the vein that we've gone in the direction
Now
of.
we'll
So
go into a concession, and it's upgrading things that desperately need upgraded in the community room.
yeah.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that ends new business.
And that takes us to the fiscal officer's report, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in an amount of $594,476.47.
I'll move on fiscal officer number 1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Just to point out, I mean, the dollar amount's higher than normal just because a large dollar amount went out for paving material since they've been getting after it already.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino? Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for May. If anyone has any questions, I'm available after the meeting. Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for a resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayments for EMS as requested by Ohio Billing.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution to authorize the Plain Township Fiscal Officer to request an additional amended certificate of estimated resources from the Stark County Auditor for $423,215.37 and to appropriate these funds as follows.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. That takes us to the administrator.
Thank you. I have a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to pay the U.S. Postal Service for the postage of the 2018 Plain Township Summer Newsletter.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I'll do it on the next.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Following that is a resolution to approve the printing, creating, and editing of the 2018 Plain Township Summer Newsletter.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Lino, second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
There's a point of clarification. I know there was, I think, Lisa, you had sent something out or talked with us individually as far as for consideration moving forward, just going through a semi-annual newsletter, just given as a way to control expense and when taking into account, say, some redundancy in information, and given the fact that we can probably be driving more of this through active iWork, social media, especially the mobile website, and so forth.
And it's a savings of $17,000.
So with that being said, I mean, knowing this is our summer newsletter, is the board looking to continue out the rest of this year doing quarterly, or would our next one be the winter?
Our next one, and we
newsletter?
talked at our staff meeting, and everybody felt comfortable, it'd be fall, winter. Because a lot of the events happen at the same time right around there. We have Salute to
Right.
Veterans, but then the next month right away we have Winterfest. So we almost had newsletters back to back, And for the other departments, they were repeating a lot of the information because it was so quick. So really, even getting information out, you know, a lot of those events are so close that doing it like that is actually a little more efficient, effective.
And just to compare, I mean, for a comparable size township, it's what Jackson's do.
Yes.
I mean, their expenses are a little higher because of what they do with the full color and a couple additional
Right.
pages where, I mean, even if we kept our color scheme and say we had to add a sheet which gets folded into
Right.
essentially the code, we'd still be further
We'll go and
ahead.
run your, you know, the 17,000 we're saving. And it is, a lot of the newsletter is parks with programs, and now those folks go to the ActiveNet and they see all the programs for the year right there. So people are being driven to that site because that's the only way to register.
Reservations as well.
Yeah, reservations for the park as well. And again, if anything, you know, urgent would come out, that's why we have Nixle. I mean, we have our website, our social media, Facebook, Squawker, so that's a big savings.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Administrator number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment of $2,030 to Earth and Wood for 40 yards of yard waste from Fund 01A26L.
So moved.
Second discussion.
Yes, we did get our first distribution of the grant. So at the next meeting, you will see, we're going to create a new fund number. We're going to do an adjustment for this payment because what myself and the fiscal office would like to see is that taken out of only one fund plus her reporting. I'm going to monitor it closely and hopefully it can stay open all year round, but if it gets heavy, we might have to do maybe an August, beginning of September shutdown and then head into the heavy leaves. But this is the first collection out of it and we'll just monitor it.
And this is a little different than previous funding because we never used to pay this out.
No,
They paid it
it was
out.
all grant. And now, you know, it's severely reduced and now we're responsible for paying that out. But it will be moved next meeting. We're going to have a transfer, creation of a new fund, so it's all black and white. There's nothing else coming out of it.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that is the administrator report.
Thank you. That takes us now to the Fire Department Chief Schallenberger.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to Henderson Roofing and Construction for the purchase and payment for repairs to the roof and flashing at Station 4 located at 7858 Market North. The amount not to exceed $3,000.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yeah, we've tried to internally repair the roof around the hose tower ourselves multiple times here over the last, you know, late fall, early spring. So we feel we need to call a professional to try to pull the flashing back, pull some shingles up, and we just kind of have a leak that's coming down into the day room there. It's not bad, just when it's, you know, heavy rain, you know, kind of thing, driving rain, we get that spot. So we've tried to repair ourselves, but we're going to have to get somebody else to take care of that.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees authorize the purchase of one Sufton custom monarch pumper manufactured and attached to the proposal for the sum of $400,660,908.22 to authorize the payment from fund number 21A02D and fund number 1008A to be purchased under Ohio State Term Purchasing.
So moved.
Seconded. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Chuck, this includes, you know, payment full discount. What, that saved us 8 or 10%?
It's actually 8% by paying up front, by saving ahead and paying cash up front. It's a sizable amount when you're getting that purchase amount. Some manufacturers don't even do that anymore. This particular one does. So it helps us to be able to forecast that money a little bit. And we're replacing our reserve truck, which is a 1988, and we're moving another apparatus into that role. It's a 98. So we're still on that approximate 30-year cycle, 25 to 30-year cycle of replacing those engines.
And for the sake of public record, we also got competitive bids, another one from Pierce, and
Yes.
one, their pricing was higher, and then outside of the pure cost component, as we've understood, and to benefit with Sefton, is from a service parts accessibility, about 2 hours away in Columbus versus, what, Florida and Wisconsin.
That's
The
all
others-
they choose to build.
Yeah.
As far as, the whole process of buying them and, doing spec sheets and everything else, it does make a difference buying them in the state of Ohio, and a lot of staying more local there. So,
Will you be going there and going over these sketches with them, or do we have an idea?
it's very similar to the last truck we ordered, but we will have to make at least 2 trips, down there, but to
Because
make sure all the, I's and T's are dotted there and all that, so.
I've had a chance when John was chief, I had a chance of going there and watching that ladder truck being built. And this company is first class. They take pride in what they do. It was fun to watch all those stages of it being built, and I'm sure you'll get to see these stages also. But this outfit is really something on what they do. The different stages, the different buildings that have each person has an assignment on different, from fenders to whatever these guys all do. They're just very professional and really take pride in their work.
And it shows in the quality at the end too. And then service-wise with our mechanics, we're able to call direct right to the service desk, be able to talk through problems, so it does help being local in that too.
And these are all done through creating capital funds, correct?
Correct, yeah, that's all savings money that we put back to buy, so to allow them to get that cash discount.
Correct. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 3, excuse me, is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to accept the resignation of Greg Wright, Plain Township career firefighter paramedic, effective June 11th at 0700 hours. Greg Wright will receive retirement items per provision 25, section H of the collective bargaining agreement. And his retirement letter is there to follow.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. I would only say we're into our second generation full-time staff retiring now. All of our first generation that was originally hired in 1979 are gone. So now we're seeing that second generation.
Wow.
Okay. Greg's,
And Greg's been a quality employee.
Absolutely.
Comes to work every day. And has been an asset to our community.
I would agree with that. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of gasoline, oil, and diesel fuel from McIntosh Oil Company not to exceed $20,000 to be taken from Fund 28A06C.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Krukowiak, Williams, and Griffiths and Doherty attorneys for various legal expenses not to exceed $7,000 to be taken from Fund 10A, 15L.
I'll move on FD5.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes. Thank you.
Concludes,
Thank you, Chief. That now takes us to zoning, Mr. Farrar.
Thank you, sir. The first item on the agenda is a resolution to declare as nuisance abatements items A through K.
I will so move.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
I'd like to point out that in May, we had 115 complaints, and we ended up with these 11 nuisance abatements and the nuisance pays.
It's a good resolution, right?
Yeah.
To avoid current costs.
And item number 2 is a resolution to declare items A through K as nuisance abatement payments.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Farrar. That takes us to Parks. Mr.
Thank you.
Steinberg.
Item number 1 on the agenda is a resolution to authorize payment to Millman Company for the porta-john usage for the May 2018 lacrosse tournament.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is simply just a reminder, we have our Gold Star ceremony this coming Thursday, June 14th, which also happens to be Flag Day, at 7 p.m. at Veterans Park, and then refreshments afterwards at Central Fire Station in the training room. We expect a really great night. They have been an incredible group to work with, the ladies of the North Canton Garden Club, and I'm thankful for all the help we've gotten along the way with our own departments and people as well.
It was really well put together. Trustee Hawes had a good part with the crew that he took up there. And if you look at the two, the Gold Star and the Blue, if you look at both of those, they're like perfectly lined up. They look identical, professional. I mean, that was really, I don't know how it was put together so perfect because they almost look like
I will tell you
twins.
that, well, the gentlemen that volunteered are definitely all skilled laborers out of Union. I think it's Local 6 up out of Akron that volunteered. And the first night I come on going, okay, am I more of a hindrance here? And it's just somebody to get the heck out of the way
I mean, they're perfect.
or get lost. But truly, we were taking, it was photos and we were back and forth up and down the hill. So on this course, it was a 15, a 9, and a 12, and then a 12, 12, 9, or whatever. We repeated that exact same pattern on every layer. So if somebody was to look at it, most folks probably wouldn't notice any difference, but layer per layer, it is exactly.
It looks pretty impressive. It's
So-
identical.
It's awesome.
It's just how they both are identical.
In the second night where we got all the coursework really done until the caps, I got to tell you, it really put into perspective. 3 of us busted tail all night long. There was no goofing around or anything. And when I sit back and think about what Mr. Guttrell did for our Blue Star Memorial, he did that all by himself.
wow.
All by himself. Because
Wow.
some folks had said, hey, yeah, we'll help. And then sort of backed out
Yeah,
last
I
minute.
remember.
I got to tell you, I have an even greater appreciation for what a single individual did on that first one. And I'm just as grateful for, the second one, because that hillside holds a special place for all of us. But,
Wow.
to see this vision continue to culminate, it's going to be something super special Thursday night.
Yeah. Very good, thank you, Rob.
And real quick, if I could
Yes.
just touch on, one of my favorite ribbon cutting, I have to say, was that splash pad. We've had a lot of it for some reason, just the looks on their face,
The kids squealing.
and to watch them out there when that thing opened was pretty breathtaking, wasn't it? It was a really nice little ceremony, and I see it's being used a lot.
Oh, yeah. When Rob and I get overwhelmed or busy, we just go watch on the camera And just to see the kids running up and down and having so much fun, it does bring joy to you.
It's pretty cool.
Our social media is insane right now because everybody who's gone takes pictures and then tags somebody else and says, you need to get here. And we've had employees take their children. It's been pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, we weren't exactly sure what to expect that day, and because it was 80+ degrees and it was kind of an exciting day, we had a huge crowd. We will never get that many kids there in such a narrow window, I don't think ever, of what we had there. And it was pretty obvious, there was plenty of room for everybody.
Yes, it was. I was worried about it, but it was.
And everybody was respectful of each other. It was really good to see it. So, and I want to thank our employees who were there because everything was orderly. I was a little concerned about maybe some injuries or something, but boy, parents just did a good job, and the kids lined up. It was just it turned out. You're right. It turned out to be a really nice.
And you know what, Trustee Sabo, you hit the nail on the head because even though it's a splash pad, it gets multi-generational use because the parents are so hands-on there. We've seen grandparents on there. It's not stopping anybody from getting in there. Everybody's so friendly up there because they're so appreciative, but it's getting multi-generational use and it is ADA accessible, so.
It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Nothing from the law director. Moving on to communications.
Thank you. Item number 1 is an invitation to anybody who'd like to attend for the 2nd annual Plain Township Historical Society Summer Potluck Picnic. It's July 16th from 5 to 8 at the Veterans Park Picnic Shelter. Admission's free. Just bring a covered dish to share. Then they're going to have some entertainment from Fun with Flags by Harry Shoger and Jimmy Zerbeck. Item number 2, I think it's important for me to read, at least the first paragraph, and this is to EMS Medic 4 crew members Jackson and DeFrancisco. It reads, on 5/4/18, we transported a 62-year-old female with an acute onset of right hemiparesia, aphasia, dysarthria, and facial droop to our facility as part of a stroke care. While in the emergency department at Mercy Medical Center, our staff continued the care initiated by you. The patient received IV TPA with a door-to-needle time of 49 minutes. She had no apparent post-TPA complications, and I am pleased to inform you that she has had near complete resolution of her symptoms. It goes on to read, I value the working relationship between Mercy Medical Center and all the local EMS providers. Your comments and suggestions regarding improving the care and transfer of patients is appreciated. I look forward to working with you again.
Very good. Well, good job as always.
And then item number 3, I'll turn over to Chief.
Well, actually, item number 2 kind of goes along with item number 1 in a way, because the gold star, or not gold star, but the gold EMS standard for Mission Lifeline American Heart looks at stroke protocol and cardiac protocol. So we were fortunate enough to get this award 2 years in a row. Kind of went from like a silver, then we kind of moved our way up. So it's a testament to all the guys, because obviously 49 minutes, that's getting to somebody's house,
That's amazing.
establishing care, transporting, getting to the ER, that's a quick turn to make all that happen. So the Mission Lifeline thing looks at guidelines for on-scene time, transport time, door-to-balloon, all that, and having the infrastructure to do it, the correct heart monitors, the CPAP machines and everything else that we are able to purchase to be able to do that. So, so we have that award, and we appreciate the residents give us the tools to achieve that too, because without that we wouldn't be able to do some of those cardiac and stroke care protocols.
Excellent.
So it's good to the guys, and I appreciate their hard work on getting those times to the hospital.
And that ends communications.
Thank you. That takes us to the portion of our meeting of public speaks. there's anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board at this time, please, for the record, give your name and address to our fiscal officer. And you're welcome to stay there if you want. You can come up here.
Stay right here.
That'll be fine.
I need that.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
My name's Harold Neal Spring. The address is 1919 Broad Avenue Northwest, Canton 44708. It's Plain Township.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and then you can address the board. Just,
My concerns are the increased truck traffic on Broad Avenue. It's always been a residential street. John, I appreciate what you've done in the past when we had the Hall of Fame, cars parked on both sides. You come out and posted signs where they don't park on the sides of the street and block emergency vehicle traffic. Recently, the gas companies had 6 occasions to come out and repair a gas line 2 properties down from my street. It's probably about a 12-inch line. I tend to believe, since I've been in some maintenance work, that these heavy trucks, these multi-axle dump trucks, using Broad Avenue from construction sites around the Hall of Fame, Avondale Street paving, also DeVille's project up on 30th and Cleveland. They're coming from Fulton Road down through out of the township, 12th, 13th Street. I addressed your office here. I was referred to road department. Joe and I always get along fine. We go in and talk in his office and everything. Al and I have talked off the record for different items. I'm under the understanding, and they're claiming that everything was, that it's Stark County engineering, which I was out there. I would like to have signs posted as a load limit. They used to be that way. Those signs are gone. Everyone's telling me that it's Stark County engineering, post the signs. This is not true. I've been out there. I've talked with Troy out there. He said, and I'll go back with Joe. And he complained, this is Plain Township's responsibility. Remove the snow. Install signs. It's Plain Township. I got into a really heated argument. I come out here to the road department. The man would, like Joe and I would go into his office and talk. This man met me at the door. He had his 2 henchmen over here. He says, stick around. He says, this man is trouble. I come out here to solve a problem. And everybody was disagreeing with me. Ended up with 6 cruisers and 6 sheriff deputies surrounding me and my vehicle.
There were 6 cruisers.
Sean claims they're going to cuff me and take me to jail. That's a threat. I didn't appreciate it. Can you come up with some solution to keep the trucks off of Broad Avenue? I have a map here that explains. It's Plain Township's responsibility to post a load limit sign, no through trucks or whatever.
Mr. Spring, I'm going to tackle this immediately.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to tackle this immediately. One, it's not just solely Plain Township's responsibility. Here's where the county does come in. The county, when there's any political subdivision planning for roadways and so forth, that's handled through regional planning, which ties out to the engineer. They determine the infrastructure level and the weight ratings, because no different. And I'll give you a perfect example. Right now, up on Saratoga Hills, Bottler, there's a road that has to be widened because of development going on up there. It's the county that determines, along with for the developer, what type of infrastructure has to be put in and what it can hold up to. So one, for the county to simply tell you, and I don't care who it is out at the county, because I know Keith Bennett and Dave Torrance, who's a resident of ours, are good people. Somebody in that staff out there was not fully clear with you, because they do set those weight load limits. And the only time weight load restrictions are placed are during the winter months, because of the weather conditions that will cause that base to heave and retract. Outside of the restrictions there, the public utility companies have an absolute right-of-way and capability to get their vehicles there. That one, technically they don't even have to submit applications to the township, which we have a permit notification process, and to the utilities credibility, because we have been stringent over the years in requesting those permits, so we can at least inform residents what's going on. Most of the time, they will file them down township. But there is absolutely nothing, whether it's North Plain Township, Louisville, Cleveland, Columbus, whatever, can do to prohibit something that meets weight load capacity and speed limits. And in this situation, given it's a maintenance repair fact, they absolutely have the right to get there and fix it. So for this board, whether it's the gas company, an electric company, it's Spectrum, it's a sheriff with some heavy piece of equipment I couldn't even imagine, they have the right to traverse that. And the board has no legal justification, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, to be able to just carte blanche prohibit a certain mode of transportation, especially if it already complies from a weight rating and a speed compliance. So, from a number of those aspects, one, to your points, the county does have a certain level of involvement. Two, the weight limit restrictions are posted only during the winter months. Specific to your comment to John, for tournaments, that's something Joe brings to the board at the request of the Hall of Fame or other tournaments. So yes, that's done on a regular basis every year by the board in conjunction with the requesting entity. We do it over a diamond for our tournaments, but then when it comes to service maintenance, we've had through Avondale, and I can probably tell you better than this, over the last year and a half, the number of water lines that Canton's been replacing through there. This board's been extremely cognizant from the aspect of, we've had roads over there that have needed paved, but we've withheld them because of the fact that if we know Canton's going to come through, just as an example, or if in this case, say the gas company's saying, hey, we're going to be doing major delivery or service main line replacements, I can tell you, as one of the three board members here, I'm pretty confident that the collective board, we're not going to invest township resources in something that's going to get cut up a year later and then have taxpayers going, well, you just paved it and they're already cutting it up and now it's only going to be patched in. So there's a number of facets here that really are taken into consideration. And I mean, in closing it out, the township does work with the county. The county has input on that, but to be able to prohibit those vehicles for transportation, we legally and lawfully can't do it. I know it's frustrating, but
I've been in the neighborhood since 1950. Just for one example, a man named was Coons, who lived up 2100 block, owned 6 or 8 dump trucks. I mean, large trucks. He had special permission to run those trucks up and down Broad Avenue because his wife sat in the front window and kept time checks on his trucks going up and down. The answer we got from here was, well, your kids play with his kids and that will cause confusion.
who from our staff ever provided that?
That's beside the point. That was back in the days. But,
well,
but there was load limit signs posted back in the 60s. They're gone.
Yeah, but I can tell you, Joe, as well as Eric can probably, affirm this. There are certain law changes over the years. There used to be a number of stop signs throughout the township because the state legislature determined, hey, there are certain situations where you can't have them. They had to be pulled. So it may be a similar situation with that, and I'm not going to treat that as fact until somebody would say different. But I can tell you there are a number of different types of signs along the roadways that over time, yeah, they may have been in place and they've had to be removed because of different state law changes or underlying circumstance. So it's not just as easy as we have somebody that's frustrated and aggravated, hey, we can just throw up a sign. And this board's going to be the first entity that goes to bat for any resident. I can promise you that, because perfect example we have is up in Modeling. We had a very troublesome intersection that should have been a four-way, where we had cars blowing through, and a gentleman couldn't even stand within probably 20 to 30 feet of the corner of his property. I was there one time. Young kids come flying around the corner, right through it. I mean, we documented, we built the case. It is a four-way intersection now, but even in that situation, we had to go out to the county engineer in Plain Township subdivision allotment roadways to get their guidance and input before we could even just put up signs. So I'm trying to use that as...
With that initiative, can someone from your office, the road department, go out and make some kind of arrangements with the county engineer?
No.
I mean, me as a lay person,
No.
you know, they handed me a map here. You see these roads, you see these streets, here's Broad Avenue. It falls within a gray color area, which is Plain Township. Plain Township is responsible for that whole area. Now, that's what I got from them.
Yeah, paving, plowing,
That would be accurate.
some basic drainage.
Broad Avenue used to be a county road.
It did, back about 15 years ago.
So
it was turned over to the township.
That's correct. So at that point, the county engineer, who is the head person in determining things out in the areas that are not in municipalities.
Right.
So then that road was turned over to us. So you are accurate in the fact that we repair it, pave it, salt it, plow it, do all of that, put regular signage that we are allowed to put up. But we can't just arbitrarily decide speed limits, for example, or weight limits.
Okay.
Weight limits have to be determined by the county engineer. They tell us what those weight limits are going to be. It's not the other way around.
John, there was another misunderstanding that your folks are on vacation, as in Joe, and Weights and Measure, who takes care of that, is on vacation.
Yep. We don't do that, though.
Okay.
We
See,
do
somebody
not,
up here is misleading me.
Yeah.
And making
I
me
can only tell you.
to go out there, and they handed me a map. Here, this is Plain Townships.
Correct. Is, but we don't determine that. And if we did, we're only allowed to do that in the winter months.
Okay.
Okay? But what we can do, and actually we helped in that area a little bit, because initially, because of the off-ramp project,
Right.
they wanted to signage the detour to go up and down Broad Avenue. And because if that would have been a county road, I'll guarantee you that traffic would have all been on Broad Avenue.
Exactly. They
But
haven't
because
turned
that
out
road does
17th
belong
Street
to us,
to keep it out of Plain Township.
correct,
I
because that
understand
road
that.
does belong to us, the law says they can't detour onto that type of a street.
Right.
So that helped you guys
It
a
does.
lot.
I
Because
appreciate that.
otherwise, and we fought for that, we had to fight hard for
I
that,
bet you did. Okay.
and we did, because we looked at that project overall.
This is the public hearings. Though.
Absolutely, and we said that, as a part of our testimony, we said, we don't want any signage, but here's the glitch to that.
Okay.
If everybody figured that out and went that way, we can't stop them. It's a public street.
Okay.
We can't stop them from going there. What we can stop is the signage from taking them there.
Okay.
And they complied with that. So, you know, unfortunately, and we did, by the way, look at the maintenance of that street. Because when we were talking about all this detouring and all of that, we asked Joe, because Joe has he has a very detailed list of what streets are going to be paved for a specific year. So we said, when is Broad Avenue due? And I want to say it was 2 years.
I believe it's every 10 years.
Correct.
Need it or not,
Correct.
it's 10 years.
But it's getting close.
Right.
So,
And it's really not deteriorated per surface.
correct.
It's under the surface.
Yes.
There's the gas line, water lines that run under.
So, you know, unfortunately, there is some other activity that's going to go on over there that, you know, we can only, as a board, do what we can legally do, but what we're going to try to do is to make sure that everybody knows about those nuisance types of things, and we can only ask as a courtesy.
Okay.
We can't stop them. But for those companies and contractors that are working, like Scott said, that want to be cooperative, then we get that from them. So, you know, even when the Hall of Fame project started, AEP, because they were moving poles, because they literally went out and started spraying in people's yards about where something was going to go.
Yeah.
So, but once we found that out, we had a couple meetings and we pulled them in, and then we coordinated saying, hey, look, if you're going to do something, at least talk to that property owner and let them know what's going on. And they did, actually. So,
Yeah.
you know, I know it might be a nuisance, but from a legal standpoint, they're allowed to be on that street because it's within state law.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir, for taking the time to come out.
Anybody else wish to address the board?
Tommy wishes to update us on the state of Washington and
Yeah.
recent lobbying.
I think he says he has nothing to report. Thank you. That takes us to concerns of trustees. Mr. Haas.
I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. Last week on the 5th, the SCOG committee met, and just for the sake of general membership, you know, we had countywide CAD update, just really talk about through some payments that were made against credits that were owed. June 19th is the next CAD meeting. County radio system, they're working through the talk group planning, so I'm sure Chief's involved with that. Crime lab caseload report, chemistry's current, firearms, there's 7 open working. So, I mean, with their staffing and some of the changes they've made down there, I mean, where there had been a significant backlog, I mean, they're really running like a super lean machine down there. So there was just some stuff we did, approve some budgeting changes due to grant extension and how resources are going to be used there. Then really a lot of it was just administrative / financial reporting, where we approved payments to the city of Kent for the crime lab, reimbursements for the second half of 2017 and Q1 of 2018, and then SCOG's trying to find additional ways to add value to the membership, because we know over the years there have been law directors and other townships that have tried raising concerns over what the fee is that's being charged and so forth. So that being said, SCOG's actually working with the Ohio Ethics Commission to host a presentation by Susan Willicke from the Ohio Ethics Commission on Friday, August 17th. The time and locations to be determined. It will be open to any Stark County elected officials and managers / department heads from any Stark County political subdivision. And that was really it. Our next meeting will be, let's see, August 4th, is it, or no, August, it'd be September 4th. So that was the only thing I had on SCOG. If you guys have any questions, feel free to see me afterwards. And then just as a reminder, for the Stark County Township Association, that meeting is next Thursday over at the Water's Edge off of Georgetown. It's actually a real nice venue that Joe Caplia has, and the topic of it's going to be on property appraisals and reevaluations. So Nimish Township's the host township, and the subject will be, or our speaker is going to be Alan Harrell. So if you can make it, know, with property valuations, given some things we're looking at here in the township of Malvern Village impact, other political entities, maybe something just to partake in. That's all I had.
That's the 21st.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Maryland sent that with final notice on it today. It came out today. So, anything else? Anybody have anything else? We do not have an, we've got to do the minutes, let me see.
I will so move on the approval of the minutes for May 22nd, 2018.
Second. Moved and seconded discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And at this time, I would make a motion to adjourn.
So moved for second.
Been moved and seconded discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.